YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with some more NFL off-season content. And basically, we go division by division. We did all the AFC teams. Now we're on to the NFC. We're starting with the NFC East. We're going to take a look at each team, take a look at what their cap situation is going into free agency, see how we can fix it, see what it might look like going into free agency, and which players we could possibly cut, which players we can trade, what their value is. So we'll take a look at all that for the NFC East. We're going to continue until we finish through the whole NFC here. We also have plenty of free agency predictions, even trade targets. We go player by player. We have Antonio Brown on the channel already. We got Le'Veon Bell. We got Case Keenum, Nick Foles. We predict their landing spots. Cool stuff. So check it out if you haven't already. Our subscriber goal is 20K. If you don't subscribe to our channel, I think you would enjoy it if you enjoy the NFL. Talking about free agency, NFL draft during season. We got predictions. Always talking football here. And clicking the like button, we much appreciated. But let's get on to the video. Let's start with the Dallas Cowboys. Pretty good situation here for the Cowboys. I think a pretty complete team, too. Pretty impressive. $43.7 million in cap space. And by the way, we're using the website spotrac.com. Link in the description. Very cool site. Gives us the exact numbers here in scenarios. So, Cowboys, 43.7 mil. Very impressive. You really don't have to cut anybody, honestly, but they're going to be looking to bring back DeMarcus Lawrence, obviously. Bigger contract, maybe no franchise tag this time. Earl Thomas is a big name that maybe they want to bring in. Maybe they want to get somebody opposite of DeMarcus Lawrence. You know, Taco Charlton hasn't worked out so far. Still young, still a lot of potential, but you know, you want to win now. And, you know how important pass rush is, but Randy Gregory obviously could step up. He looked pretty solid at times last year. But anybody that they want to cut possibly, the big name is Sean Lee. Like, do they finally move on from excellent player when on the field? Excellent. But continues to get hurt. So it's a tough decision because that is maybe the best linebacker unit in football with him on the field. It's pretty darn good even with him off the field. But do you want to pay him all this money to basically be, out? So we'll come back to Sean Lee. Some other guys, I think they released one of Allen Hurns or Terrence Williams. Hurns just had that injury, obviously, a pretty bad one. I think he's better than Terrence Williams right now. He gets paid a little more. So that's why it's tough. If Terrence Williams got paid more, or you would save more by cutting him, then maybe that would be the better option. But it's tough. We'll go ahead and cut Terrence Williams, see what happens here. You save $2.2 million. In cap, you're up to 45.9, about $46 million. So gives you some more wiggle room to get DeMarcus Lawrence, Earl Thomas, and obviously you want more than that. They don't have to be all big name guys, but you want more than that. Other guys, Joe Thomas can go. I mean, depends on what you do with Sean Lee too, obviously, but different type of linebackers. Bumps it up to 47, so a little more room here. Anthony Brown's still pretty solid. They have plenty of young corners in that group where they could do without him, but he still played pretty solid over the last few years. So it's an option, but I don't think they move on. Randy Gregory would probably fit a 3-4. That's why he's listed as outside linebacker. Probably fit a 3-4 a little better. So maybe it's a long shot, but maybe they trade him for something, a draft pick to a team that fits more. But I don't know if a team really wants to take the risk with him because he could, could be in trouble off the field at any time. And these guys have very small contracts. That's why they have a good amount of cap space. So really nothing worth it here. Maybe they cut some guys here and there down here, but really not necessary. So back up to Sean Lee is really the big question. Don't think you can trade him. I don't know if anyone wants to pay him that for him to possibly be hurt. Again, very, very good player. They may want to hang on to him. He's getting up there in age, too, 33, so usually you start to get hurt more. If you've already been somewhat injury prone, it may start to happen even more. So let's just see what happens. They go from 47 mil to 54.9, very close to 55. So it's definitely something to think about. You save $7 million, and maybe they get rid of both Allen Hurns and Terrence Williams. I don't know because I think both can play, and they see how important receivers. As soon as they got Amari Cooper and Gallup under contract at this point, you could draft one. Drafted Cedric Wilson last year. So it's up in the air. You could do that, $59 million, if you're desperate for getting maybe more stars than DeMarcus Lawrence, Earl Thomas. Maybe you can add another receiver like Golden Tate or Tyrell Williams. Offensive line seems good. They got plenty of depth. Yeah, again, could use another pass rusher outside DeMarcus Lawrence. What if they can't get him back? Then you go for one of the other guys like Frank Clark, Trey Flowers, if you're able to. But I would imagine DeMarcus Lawrence may be coming back. That's what it looks like right now. You never know, though. And I think they're good at DB. Could use a safety like Earl Thomas. Other than that, I mean, if they do get rid of Sean Lee, you could use another linebacker. They're very good at drafting those linebackers, so I'm sure they'll find one in the draft. There's a lot of those safeties in the draft that could be hybrids, too. They can step up, play outside linebacker possibly. So, I trust them in their draft process if they do get rid of Sean Lee there. So, very interesting. They can have anywhere in this range of cap space. Very impressive, because they're a pretty complete team. They can win now, and they have plenty of cap room to work with here. They do have to sign some guys, but moving on to the next team, we got the New York Giants. Why not? Interesting discussion here at the top with Eli Manning. It sounds like they may keep him. Sounds like they're going to keep him. There's a lot of guys for the Giants, actually, that it sounds like they could keep them, but I think they should do something different. $27 million cap space, not bad. Not bad. Do you go out and get a quarterback free agency? Do you go out and get a quarterback in the draft, or do you stick with Eli, or like a mixture of that? Do you got to build up that offensive line, mainly the right side? Here's my problem. We'll come back to Eli. I don't know if they do it, but I don't like Olivier Vernon with that contract. I don't think he played well last year. He seems a little less athletic than he used to be ever since some injuries. I think he's getting way overpaid. I did not like his game. I think he fits other defenses better. He's listed at D. I think he's more of a D end. He's playing 3-4 outside linebacker. Don't like it. Get rid of him. That bumps it up. See, he was at 27. That bumps up to 38. To me, that's a no-brainer. I don't think he really fits. Don't really need him. I really like Lorenzo Carter. I think he's going to be great in the future here. I think he can play right now, too. I think he fits in at their outside linebacker spot, even though he's listed at D end. I disagree with that. So I think you can get rid of Vernon. I also think you get rid of the other outside linebacker, Kareem Martin. I don't think it's really necessary to keep him for $42 million. They have to decide if they want to win now or be a rebuild team, and they're kind of like in the middle. They're kind of both right there. That's why it's tough. I think you got to get this offensive line set, and you got to get the quarterback of the future set. So I don't think they can win now, but they do have some pieces here and there, like superstar talent. So it's kind of a weird situation. But I think you get rid of those edge rushers. I think you get another one to pair with Lorenzo Carter. Maybe look at free agency. Now you have $42 million in cap. You look at free agency, like I said. Even though Frank Clark's more of a DN from the Seahawks, I think he could play the outside linebacker spot in the Giants defense. Jadeveon Clowney would be fantastic in this defense. Don't know, it's sort of a long shot. So they take a look at some of those pass rushers. Darius Smith from the Ravens, I think, would fit. Take a look at some of those guys. Also can go to the draft. You got to decide if this is a win now or a rebuild team. Some believe they can turn around right away and win now, which I don't think is out of the question. But some other guys here. Anybody else? I like these young guys. They got Sam Beal coming back from the supplement draft. He could be very solid. None of these guys, you can get rid of Paul Perkins here, save a little bit. It doesn't really bump it up too much. I do like the 1-2 as Barkley and Gallman. I like that a lot, actually. Gallman's a solid number 2 option. These guys aren't getting paid enough. There are a lot of young talent down here. I think they can really step up. Some of them we already seen step up. Decision to make with Kyle Lauletta off the field troubles, but I don't think it's too much of a concern. Janoris Jenkins is one I skipped over. I think they tried to trade him for a very late round pick, 6th, 7th round. I don't know if anything could happen there. Nobody wanted a contract. So, again, do you want to win now? Do you want to rebuild? I think either way you can cut him up to $50 million. So you can really turn this thing around here. You can go out and get those pass rushers in free agency. You can look for a free agent quarterback if you want. Maybe, I don't think they trade for Case Keenum, but maybe if he becomes available, if the Broncos cut him, I think that's an option. I think maybe Teddy Bridgewater's an option. Both guys played with Shurmur, under Shurmur, actually, as the offense coordinator in Minnesota. So that could be interesting. Landon Collins, free agent, do you want to bring him back? Apparently they tried to trade him during the trade deadline during the season. So, I don't know. Maybe you want more of a true safety back there. Landon Collins is, you can't really tell sometimes. He's good, but you don't know if he's a safety, more of a box guy. Almost plays like a linebacker sometimes. So maybe you want to get all this cap. You go get a guy like Earl Thomas, Anthony Harris can be a free agent. Adrian Amos, one of those guys. More of a true safety. They gave up too many throws downfield, and maybe a safety like that, a true deep center field almost guy, could help. So that brings us up to $50 million. Now, do I expect all this to happen? That's why the Giants are a tricky one. I don't think all this is going to happen. Even if you throw Eli up there, $67 million, it turns it around. You can do a lot with this, and it helps for the future, obviously, too. Not just this year. But I don't know if they cut Vernon. I think they should. I really do. Kareem Martin, it's only saving $3 million, but it adds up here with some of these guys. Janoris Jenkins, they tried to trade Jenkins, so it's $7.7 million. I think you do it. Eli is the tough decision to make because he could teach a young guy too. He could help mentor the young guy if you get a young guy in. Maybe you don't. Maybe you get somebody to compete with Eli. I don't think Eli's going to be cut anytime soon. But it is $17 million that you can save we're talking about here. So we'll see. Again, I really think they should cut Vernon. Some people are higher on him than I am. I would disagree with those people. But I think you can move on, get somebody that fits. I really like a lot of the rookies they got last year, a lot of defensive guys they got over the years. Looking at Dalvin Tomlinson, looking at Lorenzo Carter. They got Sam Beal, B.J. Hill. A lot of young talent there. Continue to build through that. Draft well once again. You got to have confidence they can do it. And then you have the money to spend in free agency, not just this year, could help in the long term. So the Giants in tricky situation right now, but they can turn it around very easily, I think. I guess it's going to be tough decisions, but, I think they can do it. It's a business. They got to be able to cut some of these guys. Moving on to the Philadelphia Eagles, tough situation they're in with the cap space. See what they're at exactly, negative 7.3. Nick Foles could be franchise tagged and then traded. So right now he's not factored into that cap space. If he's franchise tag, you're going to be, well into the negatives, negative 20 plus. But then they'll trade him. So then that clears it back up. We're going to be around negative 7 either way, I think. So who could they cut? This is tough because they don't really have any players that are like, oh yeah, you can cut him. No, they got some very good players here, guys that mean a lot to them. They won a Super Bowl with these guys, There's a couple. We're going to come back to one of these guys at the top here, which is very interesting. The Eagles reworked McLeod's contract. I was surprised they didn't actually just cut him. I was actually kind of surprised on that. I mean, he can still play, obviously, but they need to do something here. They need to make some more room, and it could be a very tough situation. People could be sad to see him go, but Chris Long maybe is a possibility. The reason not would be they have a couple free agents at the same position, so what if they can't get them back? It's tough. I mean, the Eagles are in a tough situation. That brings to the negative 2. These guys really aren't getting paid too much. All the money's at the top here. So maybe if they want to get Golden Tate back, they can cut Aguilar, but at $7 million, but I don't think it happens. Malcolm Jenkins getting up there in age, gets paid a lot, but can still be a factor. A guy that I want to talk about here is Timmy Jernigan. I don't think they cut him, but because he's a very good player still, but I think it's a trade candidate here. I think he could be traded. I think teams will want him. Because you're desperate with the cap situation here, you want to get some of the other guys back. You want to go out and, it's a tough situation with Nick Foles too because, what if Wentz goes down again? You need to go sign another quarterback, something cheaper than Foles, but somebody that can play. So somebody like Timmy Jernigan may have to be dealt, and since the teams know that you're a little desperate to clear the cap, it could be for a day 3 pick, even though he's worth more than that. Team that comes to mind is the Falcons. I think he can play opposite of Grady Jarrett if they get Grady Jarrett back. If not, he can still play the opposite D-tackle position for them. So just for this scenario, there's other teams he can land on if he gets traded. But, maybe it's even a bold prediction. I'm saying he could get traded. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but it's just somebody that stands out up here. If that happens, they save $7 million. That bumps it up, but that's with Chris Long gone, which is also somewhat of a bold prediction. But you're up to $5 million. They're in a tight situation, What they did in the front office a couple years ago looked excellent. Not looking so good now, but it's worth it because obviously they won the Super Bowl. They had some good teams. But it's tough. But then why Timmy Jernigan? You're not going to – Lane Johnson, I guess, isn't. I'm not going to say 0% chance to get rid of him. But a guy like Alshon, Zach Ertz especially, Brandon Brooks especially, Fletcher Cox especially, these guys aren't going to be dealt. These 3 guys, and a very, very, very slight chance for these two guys up here. Jason Peters, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, a guy that really can't stay healthy, but he gets back on the field here and there. He's very good, but maybe I don't know if anybody's going to trade for him if he keeps getting hurt. He's getting up there, and he's 37. You know, wonder if there's any talk about retirement. What happens if you get rid of him? $12 million. You know, some guys that mean a lot to this team, and that's very, and they're good too. That's very tough situations here. That's why I'm surprised. You know, respect to McLeod to rework his contract. Not a lot of guys do that, but I'm surprised they didn't just cut him. Honestly, you know, he could still play, obviously, but tough situation for the Eagles. $12.9 million cap, and that's probably the top of the line because it's hard to see really any of these guys go. Any of them. One of them's a trade. You got to count on somebody giving you something too. It's tough. Very tough situation. We're moving on to the Redskins, though. And the Redskins have $14.5 million in cap. Alex Smith's situation's a little tricky, but I think we're going to keep him here for a second. You know, I don't think they can cut him or anything. I think, maybe there's still a chance he plays this year. Sounds unlikely, but maybe he's the quarterback of next year, so you get a temporary guy, and it's a very the whole NFC East is tough. It's tough because what are they going to do with the quarterback situation? They may need a little more space to make it happen. They do have other holes too. The line I think is good if it's healthy. It just doesn't seem to stay healthy. Could use some guys on defense. Josh Norman really isn't playing the same. Could he be a guy you trade? Maybe for a late round pick. I don't really see anybody trading for him right now. He could still play, but that's a lot of money. What happens if you cut Norman? It'd be very interesting. You know, people may say that's a long shot too, but you save $8.5 million. I think you have some young corners that can step up that really aren't too far behind. I think you move on from one of the tight ends, Jordan Reed always being hurt. I think you can save more with him. I think it's more likely. $6 million saved. Jordan Reed's finally gone, perhaps. Vernon Davis stays. I think Stacey McGee could be gone. You know, can still play. You drafted really well in the interior D-line just last draft. So he could be gone. And you save, not a whole bunch, $2.2 million, but now you're up to 31. The Josh Norman one's a little tricky, so maybe we'll add him back, see what it looks like. Chris Thompson one's another tricky one. I think he can play. Not this past season, the one before. He was looking like a Pro Bowl player before he got hurt. But even when he was healthy, they did not really want to use him. They can use that running back in the offense, though, but they just didn't really want to use him. So maybe he could be on the way out. $34 million. Josh Doxson's another guy. I don't think you save a whole bunch if you cut him. He started to pick it up. Yeah, you saved nothing. He started to pick it up last year, so I think most likely they hang on to him. Where do you go? But you could trade him, and that way you could save something. A couple teams I can see him on. I can see him on the Seahawks for some reason. That's kind of a random one, but I just see a fit there. But another team that I think actually would trade for him for a late-round pick would be the Raiders. Could use a guy like that, and they'll like a guy like that. So then you save close to $2. I don't think they'd. If they gain a late-round pick, it's possible. But I thought he started to pick it up at some times last year. So, maybe it's not a guarantee. It's nowhere near a guarantee, really. Most likely he ends up back on the team. But you have some corners like Moreau. Stroman stepped up last year. I liked him a lot. So, you could afford to cut Norman here. You could do it. Let's see if we bring him back. $27 million. Really got to go out and it's a tricky situation because to be a contender, you need more than the quarterback, but you may have to go out and get a quarterback, whether it's a rookie, future guy, or you sign a veteran for maybe a year or two. It's really tough. Very tough. Offensive line stay healthy. I was surprised. They were pretty good before Alex Smith got hurt. They were better than I thought, honestly. So I guess not a team with a whole bunch of holes, but you could use some more to get to the next step. So maybe they keep the team similar. It's just really the quarterback situation that's just up for debate. Like I said, do you go for the rookie? Do you go for a veteran? Or a veteran that for short term so Alex Smith can come back? Maybe he won't play again. Tough situation. Then you got to decide what to do with his contract. I thought Case Keenum was an option. Ryan Tannehill's an option if you're going for a veteran guy. In the draft, you may have to trade up for a solid option. If you sit there and wait, maybe it's a Daniel Jones. I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't think Jay Gruden wants a Kyler Murray. I just don't see it. Maybe they want to change things up. I just don't see it. Maybe Josh Johnson back. Maybe Colt McCoy's their quarterback. A lot of scenarios, not just for the Redskins, for these NFC East teams. a lot of for the Redskins. I don't know what they're thinking about quarterback. That's why this is hard here. I know I have some guys I think that will cut, like Jordan Reed, Stacey McGee. Those two, I think I expect them gone. I really do. The other two are up for debate. Josh Norman's definitely up for debate. In terms of the Eagles, I don't know. They're going to have to cut at least somebody. I just don't know which one, because a lot of these guys really mean a lot to that organization. Like, which ones you're going to cut. Surprised that they held on to McLeod. And what are they going to do with Nick Foles? The Giants, I have guys that I'm confident should be cut, but will they be cut? That's the question. Giants are a team I'm really going to look out for, because they should make these moves, but will they? And the Cowboys are pretty simple for this to compare to the rest of this division. They're sitting pretty right now. Solid team, complete team with a lot of cap room. You got to get some of your own back, and you want to make a move for possibly Earl Thomas. And you have some tough decisions to do with Sean Lee and maybe a receiver or two. But the Cowboys are pretty much straightforward. The rest of this division, a lot of question marks. I'm not a fan of any team in this division. None of them are my team, but I'm really excited to see what some of these teams in this division do. It's going to be very interesting, this free agency. But that's going to do it for the NFC East. We're going to get through the rest of the NFC. We already did the AFC. We got plenty of free agency predictions on the channel already, too. Like I said, Antonio Brown, we have a couple guys in the show, too. We all kind of argue, predict where we think that he's going to go. Antonio Brown, Case Keenum, Nick Foles, those are kind of the trade target guys. And then out of the free agents that we're starting to do, we did Le'Veon Bell. We're going to get to the other quarterbacks like Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Tannehill. Then we're going to get to the big-name pass rush guys. We're going to get through a lot of them, pretty much all of them. All the big-name guys and even some of the guys that come in and make an impact. So we did a lot last year. We're going to do it again. NFL draft coverage too here, so we're not just sticking to the free agency period. But that's going to do it for this one. We got 20K subscriber goal. Please help us get there if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Clicking the like button would be much, much appreciated as well. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for everyone's support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.